Hello, my name is Monica. I am a beauty, skincare, and YouTube enthusiast and amateur. I consume a lot of content on this space, so I thought I would try my hand at making some. Today's video is going to be a full face, mostly, of drugstore makeup products, things that I already had in my collection that just happened to be drugstore. I decided to put them all on and make this kind of content. I hope that you find it interesting. I hope that if you're looking for something in one of these categories that you might find a suggestion. Otherwise, just use what you have and either get ready with me using your own collection, or if you're watching for entertainment, that's awesome too. I really appreciate you clicking and I hope you stick around. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so to start off with, I don't actually have a drugstore primer, but I've just moisturized my skin. You can check out my morning skincare routine if you'd like to see, and I end with a drugstore moisturizer, so that could be an option. Or there's lots of other drugstore primers that do different things like mattifying, moisturizing, putting down shine if that's what you're looking for, and there's all sorts of good ones at different price ranges at the drugstore. So I've skipped that step and just have moisturizer on right now, and then I'm going to go in with this NYX BB cream tinted moisturizer. I'm going to zoom in so that the filter comes off my face. I'm just going to squeeze some out. I'm going to squeeze some onto the palm of my hand, and I'm going to work from that kind of as a palette, and just using a beauty sponge. This is a L'Oreal beauty sponge. I'm going to try to use all affordable tools as well. I mostly only use affordable tools anyway, so that won't be very hard for me, but I'm just going to pat that right into my skin. And I do have a spot that I picked at that I have want to cover up, and so this tinted moisturizer isn't going to do that, but the next products that I'm going to go into, which are concealer, should hopefully take care of that. And I'm going to use a little bit more, again, of the NYX BB cream. Hopefully you can see enough of my face. And again, tapping that into my palm and then straight onto my face. I like this BB cream just fine. I'll probably wouldn't repurchase it just because I want to try out something new, and I've had this one for a long time. I was recommended this one from a YouTuber here on YouTube, Amy Lynn Thompson, now I believe Amy Lynn Sadler, and I'll link her channel below. She raves about this moisturizer, tinted moisturizer, excuse me, and I think that it works really well. It doesn't get dry on my skin, even though my skin does tend to get dry, and it provides a nice evening base type coverage that's not too cakey or anything. So the next thing I'm going to go in with is concealer. And I actually have two concealers here. I have the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer and the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. The Flower Beauty, I'm going to put it right on this spot and on some other spots that are darker on my face, because it's a good match for my face. And the color I'm using is L12 Fair. The color I used in the NYX BB cream is 1 Nude, and the color that I'm going to use in the Maybelline Fit Me is 15 Fair. And I'm going to put that one under my eyes, just kind of on the hollows, because whatever I have here is gonna be spreading out around here. I'm also going to put that down the center of my face and underneath my nose where I get red, just to provide coverage and brightness in those areas. I like to let them sit So I'm especially going to let the ones under my eyes sit. The Light Illusion Concealer has been sitting on my face. I'm going to take the tip of my sponge and really just dab and kind of go around the edges with a finger, just to keep as much of that coverage as possible. And the sponge will kind of pick up the coverage, but if you're really just kind of trying to dab around the edges, it should keep most of the coverage that you want. And if a little bit of the discoloration peeks through, for me that's not the end of the world. I like my makeup to look kind of less makeup-y, and so that's to my preference, and I don't mind it. If you do mind it, using a more full coverage concealer, letting it sit even longer, going in with powder right away, those are ways to pump up the coverage and keep it intact. So now just going underneath the eye, spreading it out. And that's pretty much my base. I'm gonna rub my hands together, as I often do, to pick up any extra product and really let the warmth of my skin press things in one last time before I powder. Now the powder I'm using is a Wet n Wild pressed powder in the Photo Focus line, and I do have pan on there, and I do hope to use this up. Let me find a brush. I'm just going to take this Real Techniques setting brush because I like to be a little bit more precise when I'm powdering. I'm going to get on the forehead where I had that concealer because I don't want that breaking down. Down the center of my face again where that concealer was sitting. Under my eyes. On this spot that I concealed because I don't want the coverage moving there, and just lightly in this T-zone area on either side of my nose that can tend to get greasy. I want to control that. Otherwise, I do want a little bit of that natural shine that you see. I want to preserve a bit of that. But I don't want it to look like I'm greasy and in these T-zone spots and things like that. So that's my powder. Okay, so the next step for me would be to go in and add some dimension to my face, some structure with bronzer, color with blush, and more dimension with some highlight. Now, I don't actually have a drugstore bronzer. I recently decluttered, and you can see that in my declutter videos, the Butter Bronzer and the number 7 Maple Bronzer, and both of those were good. I just had a large bronzer collection, and I opted to keep the ones that were a little bit more expensive that I had spent my money on. Those went to good homes, so they've already been claimed and out of my collection. So I'm just gonna go in with a bronzer that I'm working on to try to pan, which I'm nowhere near. And I'm not going to name it, there's no reason to, again, because this is supposed to be a drugstore makeup video. But I highly recommend the Butter Bronzer. I think that the number 7 Maple Bronzer was good as well. I like the Butter Bronzer a little bit better. And again, that is the Butter Bronzer from Physicians Formula. So just adding a little bit of color and dimension on my face with my bronzer. Next, I'm actually going in with something from the Butter line, the Physicians Formula Butter line, and that is the Butter Blush in the shade Plum Rose. I love this blush. By the way, this brush is a Sonia Kashuk one that's discontinued, but she probably has something similar. You can get those at Target, and this is another Real Techniques. This is the blush brush, I think, and I love this brush actually, and I just love this Plum Rose shade. It is very neutral to me. Like, it comes off very cool in the pan, but I think it's a lot more warm once it's on the face. And I can just sort of pile it on and get a color that's never going to compete with anything that I'm going to have otherwise on my face. It goes with pretty much every look, I feel. So here I am piling it on just to try to get that color to show up for you. The lights kind of blow things out a little bit, but I think you can see that the blush is very harmonious, and it doesn't stand out on your face, but in a good way. Like, it just goes with a lot of things. So there is that. The next thing I'm going in with is the Essence Pure Nude Highlight. This has a very strong fan base for a reason. It is just gorgeous. You can apply it lightly or more heavy to get a more blinding highlight. I'm gonna go for somewhere in the middle. I think you can see that. Gonna go on my nose, top of my lip, and it just is beautiful. It doesn't look powdery on the skin. It's like almost like a baked. It reminds me a lot of the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance highlight, and I have that one, and I almost feel like I could just keep one or the other, but I keep this one in my collection because I do enjoy it, and the color is a little bit different, but the formula to me is pretty similar. For my brows, I'm going in with my e.l.f. brow pencil. It's just the plain brow pencil, and it has been lasting me forever. I have a friend who goes through them, but for me, I just find that it's been lasting for years, and so I've been really consistently trying to use it up. I don't have much left, but I just kind of shimmy it in on the spots that are a little bit less full in my brows, and brush them up. I have used the NYX Clear Brow Gel as well, and I find that that works. They came out with another one recently called the Brow Glue that I'm very interested in trying, but I just want to get through the brow products that I already have. So the one I'm using is high-end, but I'm almost out of it. I have a backup product that's also high-end that is a mini that I'm going to test out next, and then I may test out some more drugstore ones. I just have a really hard time finding brow products that actually hold up my brows. Even this one, which I will say is the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel, which has a reputation of being like hairspray in your brows, doesn't hold my brows exactly the way that I like. You might be already able to tell that they're falling already. But that's that. That's the brow routine. Now I'm going to go in with some eyeshadow. So all of the eyeshadow that I have from the drugstore is actually pretty much exclusively ColourPop shadows. I love the Super Shock singles. I have a couple of the 9 pans. This one is the Going Coconuts, and that's what I'm going to be using today. I also have plenty of their singles, and I'm very happy with them. I highly recommend them. I'm going to go in with this Wet n Wild crease brush. I'm going in with the shade Culotta, which is kind of like a cooler taupey shade. Okay, so there's plenty of shades in here that I could go in to deepen things up with, or to make things a little bit more warm toned. to deepen the outer corner and things like that, but I'm actually not feeling that type of look today. I kind of just want a little wash of something on the eyes. So I'm gonna actually just take this glittery shade right in the middle called Cocoa Crush, which is gorgeous, and I'm gonna tap it on with my finger. So stunning and sparkly, very loosely pressed, but in a very advantageous way for applying and just looking its most sparkly and best. And that's gonna finish up the eyes for me. I'm gonna put some mascara on. Today I'm going to use the CoverGirl Supersizer Fibers. I love this for a natural lash look. I'm running low on this one, and I replaced it already with a more high-end option that I don't love as much. I just love how this really lengthens the lashes and kind of defines them, but in a natural way that doesn't look clumpy. I am a diehard fan of CoverGirl mascaras. I really enjoy them and have really not been disappointed ever in a CoverGirl mascara. The other mascara that I use, I like to have two mascaras kind of open at a time. One that's more simple everyday, and one that's more voluminous and dramatic. And this Exhibitionist one reminds me a lot of the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara, both in the performance and even in the wand shape. So little potential dupe there. So for the last thing for this look, I'm just going to add a lip. And I think I want to go in with a simple nudie lip. I absolutely love this one. I think the color is super unique. It's from Maybelline, and it's in the shade Touchable Taupe. And you can see a little bit of wear on it. It's just, I think, a really sophisticated looking, and I like to smush it around rather than like really build up a full layer. And I think that is the finished look. It's just a simple natural eyes. I'll see if I can insert some pictures of this out in the daylight, since all I have are these lights right now and not very much sun, natural light at least, but it is bright outside, so I'll go take some pictures and insert them. And this completes the look. It's all drugstore for the most part, what I had. I hope that you found some good suggestions if you were looking for any. Otherwise, if you weren't looking for any and you're just watching for entertainment, thank you so much for spending your time with me. Don't feel like you ever need to go out and grab anything that me or any other content producer is talking about. Love your own collection. Unless you're already specifically feeling a need for something, I think it's great to just pay attention to what you already have when you can. You know, sometimes the urge for newness hits, and that's okay. It's okay to treat yourself, but I'm really on a journey right now myself of being a conscious consumer and having giving love to things that I already have. So I hope that if you enjoyed this, you go ahead and subscribe and like. That would mean a lot to me. Otherwise, thanks so much again for your time, and I hope to see you in my next one.